When you create a film, you want to have both a good story and compelling visuals. This is an awesome combination. And one of the best ways to get beautiful visuals is to have great locations. But when shooting documentaries, you don't always have this as a guarantee. You don't always know what you're walking into. And this can be very overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. This actually excites me as a filmmaker because there's a couple tools and a couple techniques that I have in my tool belt. What am I talking about? I've never worn a tool belt. That I put in my camera case that I bring to set that help me guarantee to get the best footage possible no matter where I am. We're gonna talk about that today because that's what I've been using on my latest film, tentatively called Mile by Mile, which is about Lawrence Hacking, who at 47 years old was the first Canadian to finish the Dakar Rally, which is a 10,000 kilometer race. It's insane. So we're doing a little mini documentary about him. So let's get into some of those tips today about how to get the best footage no matter where you are. But first, here's a little sneak peek of the film. So the principle I want to say today is you get to control the location doesn't control you. And that's why I never leave my office to go to set without a few tools. They always come with me, and especially on films where I've never been to the location before, because nothing is worse than when you get somewhere that's boring and doesn't give you inspiration. And the first thing, you've heard me talk about this before, is haze. I add this to almost any room that I'm in, and we did this for this film, especially during Lawrence's interview, we added it, but the haze was making some noise, so we actually just grabbed a muffler off one of the bikes and were able to quiet the haze down so that we can continue the interview.
We're gonna put this really high-end Japanese motorcycle exhaust silencer on this pipe. So much quieter!
But we didn't just stop there. We got an Artem smoker and added some smoke to the forest we were in because they were just kind of a typical Canadian forest. To me, it wasn't all that dynamic of a location, but adding that smoke gave an extra layer. It gives you atmosphere and depth to the environment that your characters are in. And this is what you're trying to do as a cinematographer. We're gonna talk about in a bit why I bring a notepad out, because this is about adding tone and figuring out the emotions to the shots you're doing, and we'll talk about that at the end. But for you as the cinematographer, you're asking yourself, what else can I add to the shot to make it interesting? That's why for me, you see me so often shooting with a matte box. And it's not just because it makes the camera look more professional, it's that I'm adding filters to my shot. I'm adding another layer of both depth, texture, and creativity to it. And that's why people are always asking, why would you have a matte box when you already have a variable ND in your camera? Well, this matte box isn't just doing variable ND. I'm putting a mist filter in it as well as the blue morphic and gold morphic flare filter. And that's the great thing with the Basecamp system by Polarpro, is that you can have multiple stages here. You can add multiple filters at the same time. So for me, I love the mist filter because it's gonna soften the skin tones, but it's gonna bloom the highlights. And again, give it a bit of that texture that the haze would be doing as well. Being that it's a motorcycle film, there was a lot of headlights, so we added the blue morphic and gold morphic filters to a lot of our shots as well. And that's why I love using filters, is I'm getting the chance to kind of paint on set. I'm adding more to the image than what was there in reality. And I'm having the chance to make it more interesting. And this was especially important for me with this film with Lawrence because we're retelling his story, so I wanted at times there to be a bit of a dreamlike quality to the images. So that's where the gold morphic flare filter came in handy when we were shooting him in slow motion in the forest, and he's gonna be talking about doing this crazy Dakar race all over the world. We can add a layer of emotion and tone to the image. And right now, Polarpro is having their Elevate Your Content sale, where they're selling the Basecamp 2-stage and 3-stage system, both at $500 off for Black Friday. It's a crazy good deal. That's almost half price for the 2-stage system. So you wanna go check that out. I'll put some links below. So I've talked about 2 tools that I'm using, Haze and my matte box. But then thirdly, I have a notepad, or I take notes on my phone to what I'm hearing in the interview with my person, because then I wanna go shoot B-roll that complements the sentiment, the emotions that they're communicating. I'm not just shooting cool footage, but I'm trying to capture moments that reflect exactly what was happening in their head, in their heart. So even little things matter for you as a cinematographer, or at least they should. When Lawrence was talking about the past and becoming the first Canadian to finish the Dakar, I wanted there to be a warm kind of desert feel, like again, like I was saying, that dreamlike, that sincere memory as he reminisces about that race. So I waited till sunset, we set him up on a table in this garage, and I shot it so it had lots of flares and a warmer vibe to it so that we could reflect him reminiscing on his past races. As well, when we were out on these side roads, they weren't all that exciting, so I got out at the end of my lens, added the blue morphic flares, and gave it a shaky quality to the footage so that it could match the intensity of the Dakar race. This is what you want to be thinking as a cinematographer. Don't just stop at, did I get the shot? Was it smooth? Was it normal? Think weird, think different. Your images don't have to be perfect. They can be out of focus at times. You can pan quickly. You can make them shaky. But you want to do this with purpose. So for me, I wanted to recreate the intensity, the exhaustion of the Dakar race. A 10,000 kilometer race is going to make you tired. So I made sure my footage reflected that. There was this overwhelming sense of adrenaline in the footage we were shooting. So to recap that, you want to add to your environment. Don't just settle for walking into somewhere and not bringing any lights, or just saying, okay, this is the best we can do. Find that different angle, find something you can add to it, whether it be some filters or a bit of haze or an area where there's a pool of light. You get to take control of the location you're in. The location doesn't have to control you. And then lastly, make sure your footage, your B-roll, is complementing the interview. Don't just shoot some random cool stuff. Make sure it actually goes in hand with what the person was saying in the interview. And like I mentioned, go check out the Polarpro sale. It's $500 off both the 2-stage and the 3-stage base camp set. It's a crazy good deal. And so I'll be releasing this film about Lawrence. We're tentatively calling it Mile by Mile. It'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. If you have any questions about behind the scenes, some things you want answered about that film, leave them below, and I would be happy to answer them in future videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.